the entire premise of what we are doing here on the manufacturing side is basically operational efficiency, but most importantly, throughput, right? So the examples that we are looking at. So yesterday we had a call. So there's this company, a consulting company called Wipfli, and it's, through Larry Denton's contact, we've been working for them for a couple of months, but year end automotive, everything was slow, so they didn't react. So yesterday, Deepak and I had a call with one of the directors at Wipfli who wants us to do a pilot at a factory in Illinois. Okay, so that's almost like the fifth pilot we're getting. You saw the note from Hudson Valley that I sent to you, right? So March 13th, we have a meeting with them. So, so that's going to be another one. So we're making some progress in the pilot front. So, so for this plant, they are looking at press utilization, and the main issue for them is if the press um, is stopped and restarted, what is the gap? And most importantly, so they have a software called Plex, and this is where doing doing LinkedIn post that people think if you have a software system, it answers the question, is really not the case. And like I mentioned the other day, right? And just I want to take a step back. What you're trying to do, Umut, your explanation of AI to SaaS, I'm 100% agreeing to your philosophy that there's a difference, and people who are used to SaaS, which many are, they're they're sort of connected with AI the same way to a detriment, right? So you have an ERP system that's collecting data, you generate reports, then you take action. You see if the action has made any changes, you generate another report, and then do another corrective actions, right? So basically there are report action, report action, report action is that sequence with an ERP system. That's the traditional way how it's done. What AI does, which you are able to do corrections in the live mode. I mean, people could argue, hey, even a system like Plex would give you live alerts. It would. But most likely, what we provide is that extra level of data where you are giving the notification, but you're also giving a video of what the issue is. So you know what needs to be fixed. The material is not in the right spot, or the material is not there for the next setup. Boom. You take care of that immediately so that the next setup, right? So basically, the bottleneck, which would be a result of material missing. Because just imagine this, right? If there was no material and the setup charge, now the setup charge instead of 1 hour takes 3 hours, then you're already creating a bottleneck there. So now the throughput of the factory is reducing. So a process which need not have been a bottleneck becomes a bottleneck because the material was not staged. And by the way, there are tons and tons of this material sitting in storage there. So we have already paid for inventory, and we're not able to convert that inventory to finished or work in process, right? Or finished product, ultimately throughput. That's what we can do in AI, and I think that's the connection we have to make. Maybe we have to do a case study that shows the difference between what AI can do and what a software system cannot do. Yeah, that live watch example is really good. I like that because it's a very simple way. Because in the past, you do certain things, you weigh yourself in the bathroom in the morning, and then this is what I'm going to do. With your watch that you're wearing, Fitbit, whatever, you know how many steps you're making while you're doing it, and you're looking, and it's telling you made good job, whatever. So you're making live correction at the same time. And the sensors thing, the Industry 4.0, Industry 5.0. So in so many words, I've always told Industry 4.0, in order to make a connected factory, it's very expensive. And I think you made it even simpler. The connected factory setup with sensors is a fixed, rigid, very expensive programming system. So you program it one time and it's very expensive. Once it's done, you cannot change it. Then you, as the manager, operation manager, has to work towards the program, what the program tells you, and you bend towards it, and it's happened. What happens is after a while, your brain says different, and the program is saying different, and then you stop using it, and then you say that program is useless. I'm sure it has happened. I have to think about it. It has happened for sure. And the Rajan is simple. The programming is done rigidly. You pay $500,000 and do this. And in let's say you do it in 2004. You're very happy in 2004. Guess what? 2005, 2006, the industry is changing. The demands are changing. Now you have this, is it called white elephant, where you have the system that's so rigid, right? Even 100% automation, Umut, it killed Saturn, right? Saturn automotive car company, right? It killed because when Saturn came up in the early 90s, they built this factory where it was 100% automated. You hit a button and the cars produce. There was not a single operator. Okay, and that entire production line was in Tennessee, 100% automation. And if something went wrong, the whole factory stopped. They had to get engineers from the company that supplied it. It would, they were not there 24/7, so they would 2 or 3 days they would come. They would. So then now you become a slave of this machine, and so you can't do any changes, right? So you can make production changes to your vehicle because now the demand, the customer wants something in the car, you can't change it because my machine is fixed, right? So that's exactly what happens in Industry 4.0, where you have a rigid system, and as the market changes, as the demand changes, because anything that is fixed today is literally obsolete tomorrow, right? So, I mean, even Apple phone, right? I mean, you get a phone today. If Apple were not to upgrade every second day, third day, you would say, okay, the system is obsolete, right? Oh, you have to buy a new phone to get the new upgrades, right? It doesn't work that way. So even in software, unless you upgrade it, and by the way, in Industry 4.0, you can do the upgrades, but it'll cost you another $500,000. That company in the goal was very rigid because they had systems that were not flexible. And they said this machine needs to produce 100 parts, whether you need it or not, you produce 100 parts. And each machine, the KPIs were generated from a um, local system. Each system had a KPI. So you wanted to maximize each KPI for each station as opposed to the KPI of the factory, which is what AI does, which is what Moii does, is where you optimize the KPI or the whole factory, not individual stations. The ERP systems are rigid, therefore the way they identify bottlenecks may not reflect the true bottlenecks in the factory. That's it. So um, I think the term localized bottleneck versus true bottlenecks, right? Localized bottlenecks is true bottlenecks. I think that's the differentiation. You can think, hey, my machine is idle today, and say, hey, that's a bottleneck because my machine is idle. That machine being idle is a good thing today because you don't need it, right? So I think that's the way to say it. Localized bottlenecks are fake bottlenecks, basically. The true bottlenecks are the bottlenecks that restrict the throughput. And that's what we do, is identify the true bottlenecks and not worry about localized bottlenecks. I think that's the output that we should say. And I'll try to think of an example that I may have come across. But the one that the two examples I gave, right? The one with Saturn, for example, it didn't apply to me. But ERP systems in general are rigid, are inflexible, and the cost of software, and the reports are standard, right? The reports are standard. In order to get new reports made for new logic requires programming, which requires expertise, which requires money to be put in. And I've worked in factories where the reports were created, the software ERP system, the reports were created more than 20 years ago, okay, early 2000. And now you have factories that are still running where you're using the same reports. And so now I was in factories where because I would know what to look for, I would generate all these different reports and I would take here, 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 here. But guess what? You can only do that on a weekend when nothing else is going on, right? So you make these judgments based on these reports. Anyway, I think we had a good conversation. I think there's certain things that you reminded me. We got to add those. I think we need to do a case study because it'll help me send this out. any SaaS product, ERP is one of them, is rigid, and it forces the operation manager to follow what it wants, not what the market is demanding, which is exactly what the goal says. The goal says run the operations to meet market demands and what the needed output is. And then SaaS products dictate bottom up, goal says top down. The Vision AI does top down, where it's saying, what do you need output? And then you look at that way. The SaaS product forces you to do things the way it needs to, not what the factory might want to.